Hey everybody, it's Micah. So today I just want to talk a little briefly about some things that I learned from my recent readings from Scott Adams' books. So the first one that I'll share with you is his book. Let me see if I can get here. Focus. How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big. Kind of the story of my life. So this is his book. And so I'll share a brief thought that he has in his book. And in his book, he has a list of skills that he believes are important. He says, I made a list of skills in which I think every adult should gain a working knowledge. You don't have to become, he says that you don't have to become a master of any of the skills, but you should have some knowledge of them. Working knowledge. So the list of skills is public speaking, psychology, business writing, accounting, design, the basics, conversation, overcoming shyness, second language, golf, proper grammar, persuasion, technology at the hobby level, and proper voice technique. So one thing that I remembered when I read this list was my dad often encouraged me to join Toastmasters, which was a place that would help teach public speaking, and I never understood the purpose of it. I didn't understand why I would need it, and so I never ended up doing it. Although, to a certain extent, I do regret it. But this, making these videos hopefully will help me develop my public speaking skills. By the way, I have done some public speaking in Japanese. So, I've got a little bit of the public speaking and the second language. I got that, okay? Psychology, I have a basic working knowledge, I think, from consuming Jordan Peterson's work. Business writing, I need to work on just making my writing a bit simpler. I need to learn to be more concise. Accounting, that's going to be a tough one. I need to work on my accounting skills. So maybe that's something I'll work on soon. Design. Yeah, that's something I would also like to do, and actually Takaya can help me with that. She has a little bit of design knowledge and experience too. Conversation. I think I'm pretty good at conversation. I think I have done a fairly good job of overcoming shyness, although I still am not, how can I say, I am naturally introverted, so it's difficult for me to pretend to be extroverted and go around and try to talk to people and start conversations. But if I'm having a conversation with somebody, then usually I don't really feel shy. I can't remember the last time I felt shy. I've felt, whenever I meet new people, usually what I do is I just listen. I watch. Sometimes I ask some questions, but usually I'm fairly quiet. I don't know if it's my natural introversion or if it's just something that I've learned that I taught myself. But usually what I like to do is just listen to what other people are talking about first. Maybe it's kind of, no, I won't do any analysis. Anyway, let's make this short, concise. We're working on concise here. Second language, I got golf. Now, proper grammar, got that. Persuasion, working on it right now. Technology, got that. Proper voice technique, have to work on that. But a lot of these things, public speaking, business writing to a certain extent, but public speaking and persuasion and proper voice technique, using these videos, I can work on those skills. But actually, I have about half of the skills, so I'm doing pretty good, I think. Anyway, that's not the main thing I wanted to share. What I wanted to share mostly was the idea of public speaking. He has a very interesting story about public speaking and an experience he had in a Dale Carnegie course that he took. He said that in the course, the instructor said that all of the students were going to be giving feedback to each other, but they weren't allowed to give any negative feedback. They were only allowed to give positive reinforcement. And he also said that he felt a little bit skeptical of that because he wasn't sure how they were supposed to get better if they didn't understand what they were doing wrong. Another rule that they had was each student had to volunteer to go next. So they weren't nobody was ever forced to go. They had to choose to go. And what's interesting about that is, as a teacher, I see students daily asked to speak, sometimes in kind of a semi-public speaking fashion, coming up in front of the class to speak. Usually the elementary school teacher will ask students, but he will sometimes just force students if no students raise their hands. But in junior high school, teachers regularly, at least one teacher regularly asks students or forces students to speak and to give output of language skills that she's teaching. And from reading in the past, I know that forcing second language learners to output when they're not ready is a bad move. So that kind of agrees with what Scott Adams writes here about the instructor's instructions. So then he tells a very interesting story. He tells the story of a woman who, he says, was forced by her employer to take the class and was so frightened that she literally couldn't form words. In the cool, air-conditioned room, beads of sweat ran from her forehead down to her chin and dropped onto the carpet. The audience watched in shared pain as she battled her own demons and tried to form words. A few words came out, just barely, and she returned to her seat, defeated, humiliated, broken. Then an interesting thing happened. I rank it as one of the most fascinating things I have ever witnessed. The instructor went to the front and looked at the broken student. The room was dead silent. I'll always remember his words. He said, "Wow, that was brave." My brain spun in my head. 20-some students had been thinking this woman had just crashed and burned in the most dramatically humiliating way. She had clearly thought the same thing. In 4 words, the instructor had completely reinterpreted the situation. And he goes on to say that there are several things that he learned from these experiences. The most important, he says, is the transformative power of praise versus the corrosive impact of criticism. I've had a number of occasions since then to test the powers of praise, and I find it an amazing force, especially for adults. Children are accustomed to a continual stream of criticisms and praise, but adults can go weeks without a compliment while enduring criticism both at work and at home. Adults are starved for a kind word. And here's the thing that really struck me. When you understand the power of honest praise, you realize that withholding it borders on immoral. If you see something that impresses you, a decent respect for humanity insists you voice your praise. That's a very powerful thought, and it's one that also reflects something that Jordan Peterson taught about raising children, was if you want children to do something, you praise them when they do it. And if you don't want them to do it, the best thing you can do is ignore them. And the same thing is true of adults. That's why many companies have employee recognition programs, because they want to praise employees for doing good work, and that gives them an energy boost and makes them want to work harder, and makes everybody else want to work harder to receive the praise. So that was just one interesting section of the book that I wanted to share tonight. Just wanted to make this a short video. By the way, I got this really cool orange. I got a bunch of orange clothing from Takaya for an early Valentine's Day gift. So I'm enjoying wearing it right now. You see how orange this is? That's seriously orange. That's really orange. I like this. It's not really a shirt. It's like, I don't know, like a jersey, I guess. I guess you call it. Maybe it's not a jersey. I don't know what you call it, but I like it. Anyway, that's it for today. I'll see you next time. See ya.